everybody, Michael at Hyperco here, and today we're going to be talking about our new high-performance UTV kits. So we've got two main kits, a regular kit and a plus kit. The regular kit is for most two-seaters, four-seaters with small passengers and not a ton of additional weight. The plus kit is great for vehicles with additional weight as well as four-seaters that have 4 grown passengers. This can also be great for vehicles that are mainly used in the dunes. The additional weight helps prevent bottoming and control the vehicle. So with this vehicle here, we've got 3 goals today. 1, show you how to install a UTV kit. Show you how to get the heights, the crossover rings, and the preload you need for your vehicle. Second goal here today is get a little more ride height out of this vehicle. So this vehicle is sitting pretty low. It always has 4 passengers. They always ride in the dunes, and they have a cage and some other accessories. And the third thing is we really want to get to a true dual rate. So with this upper tender collapsed on this vehicle from time and the additional weight, we're not really getting a true dual rate. So we're going to switch it to a true dual rate. That's going to give us ride in the initial combine rate, which gives us the comfort over small chatter and medium bumps, and then a transition into the final rate, which gives us that bottoming resistance that we're looking for. So the kit here for this vehicle today comes with 8 springs. We've got 3-inch front springs on this vehicle and 375 for the rear. It also comes with the crossover rings, the adapters, and the sliders. Now each kit's gonna come with a little bit different variation of this depending on the vehicle, but everything that you need is included in the kit. All right, we're gonna jump into it. We'll start by jacking up the vehicle, getting the shocks off, and go from there. Next, we'll grab the appropriate tools and loosen the lower shock bolt and the upper shock bolt so we can remove the shock. Next, we can remove the shock. So once we've got the front shock off the vehicle, we can put it in the spring compressor. Now, some of the kits do require a spring compressor and some of them don't. On this one, we're going to, and if you have one, it definitely makes it quicker and easier. So we'll put this in here. Press the spring, and then we'll need to push the bump stop down and get the spring seat off. Once that's off, we can go ahead and release the tension and remove the springs. Once we've got the springs off, we can go ahead and set the preload and the crossover rings. So to set the preload, we want to measure from the surface where the spring sits to the bottom of this blue ring on this kit. So for this kit, we want 2.25 inches. We're about 1 3/4 inches right now. So I'm going to roll this spring seat down. So that's right at 2 1/4. So next we're going to install the crossover ring. It helps to remove this Allen screw all the way or almost all the way. I'm just going to take it out. And then we can pry this apart and slide it over. So once you get to here, open it up a little bit, slide it over the side. Once you get the crossover ring up to the threads, you can start to thread it on. On this particular kit, the instructions say to set the crossover ring all the way up against the preload collar, and that's so that you can bring it in as you need and tune your front suspension. So we're gonna thread this all the way down. And then once you're at your measured height, or in this case, all the way against the collar, we can go ahead and put that Allen screw back in. Now that we've got our preload collar set to the right height in the instructions, as well as the crossover ring, we can go ahead and put the shock back on the spring compressor and install the springs. So we'll put our tender on first, and we want to put our new slider on, our main spring, and then we can compress the assembly and reinstall the bottom mount. Once we got the springs on and the bottom mount there, you can undo this and place it back on the vehicle. So we'll slide this in here and put the upper bolt back in and then the bottom bolt. Both the bolts back in, we can tighten everything back up and torque it to factory spec. Now we've got this installed, we've torqued the bolts to factory spec. We'll repeat on the other side with all the same springs and measurements, and then we'll go ahead and move to the rear. We'll jack it up, put it on jack stands, get the shock out, and go through the same process. Just like the front, we'll grab the appropriate tools and we will loosen and remove the lower shock bolt and the upper shock bolt. They help to lift up on the wheel a little bit to get the bolt out. And now we can remove the shock. So now we've got the rear shock out, we can put it in the spring compressor similar to the front. Now we can remove the shock. We're going to set the preload and the crossover rings. So now we've got it here on the bench. We can go ahead and set the preload. So we're going to want to set it 3 inches from the bottom where the spring makes contact with the perch to this blue part right here. So right now we're a little over 1 inch. We're going to roll this down. So nice. So we're right at 3 inches here. Now we've got the preload collar set. So some of the applications may require adapters on the spring perch. This one does, so this one comes with 4. We're gonna put one on the spring perch as well as on the bottom mount. So we need to slide this on before we set the crossover rings or it won't go on. So we've got that adapter set there. And once that's there, we can install a crossover ring. So we'll remove the set screw or put it all the way out. I'm gonna remove it. And then we can put it on the bottom of the shock. And then we'll need to open it up once we get to the threads. A screwdriver or your hands will do. Once you've got it on the threads, you can go ahead and thread it up. Just like the front, this one calls for the crossover ring to be set all the way against the preload collar. You'll be able to bring it in as needed. We've got the crossover ring all the way up. We're ready to reinstall the set screw. So we've got our preload set at the right height. We have our adapter on there and our crossover ring. We're ready to put the springs on. Go ahead and get our tender spring. We're gonna get our slider and our main spring. We can go ahead and compress them. Go ahead and place the adapter on the spring, and then you can go ahead and install the lower spring mount. And we can release the tension. And we're ready to go back on the car. So we've got everything installed. Make sure that you torque it to factory specs, move to the other side, and then we can lower the vehicle and check the ride heights. So now we've got all 4 corners done. We want to check the ride height. So this directions calls for 18 to 19 inches from the ground to the lower radius rod bolt in the back, We're actually right at 20, but this customer has a spare tire that's not on here, as well as a full toolkit and a cooler. So I'm gonna leave it right here, and it'll be perfect with everything in there. Ideally, you would wanna check it with all your gear in there. So now we can go check the front. The last thing what we wanna do is check the adjusters. So we have recommended settings based on our testing on where to set these. Pretty easy on this one. This one's gonna be 3 clicks in from fully open. So fully open is counterclockwise. We're gonna twist it all the way counterclockwise. And then in 3 clicks. So 1, 2, 3. So now we're checking the ride height in the front here. This also calls for 18 to 19 inches from the ground to the bottom mounting bolt here. And you can see we're just a hair under 19, so we're gonna call that perfect. One other thing to consider here though is if you're running an aftermarket tire and it differs in diameter, you're gonna wanna take that into account in your measurement. So for the front here, we wanna make the shock adjustment recommended in the instructions. We're gonna go ahead and click it to full open, so that's counterclockwise, all the way until it stops. And the instructions call for 3 clicks in. So I'm all the way open now, and I will go 1 click, 2 click, 3 click, and we'll repeat on the other side. So depending on the weight of your vehicle, the tire size, you may have to go back and make some height adjustments. So you take those measurements, go make some adjustments at the shock, and then you should be at the ride height that you need. So our goals for the video were to show you how to install a UTV kit. We've done that. To get a little more ride height out of the vehicle, we've definitely done that. And to convert from a single use rate to a true dual rate, we're using both rates. And we've taken care of all 3 of those things. So if you want any more information about any of our UTV kits or off-road springs, go to hypercoils.com. Thanks for watching.